Hi, my name is Joel. I am a filmmaker fundraising for an important documentary called Embraced. And the name comes from how I embraced my son, who was diagnosed with an FASD, the acronym for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. FASD is the world's #1 developmental disability. It's reported to be 300% more prevalent than autism. Yet few people understand or know what this condition is. Over the last several years, I've been using Zoom to interview a lot of people, including some folks that are just super adult advocates with this condition. And they've been brave enough to share their stories with us. We've selected 9 individuals. It is such a privilege to introduce to you Rebecca.
All right, sounds good.
Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name's Rebecca Tilliou, and I am an adult who lives with fetal alcohol syndrome. And I just wanted to give you guys a little background on where I come from, my struggles, and my successes with growing up, and especially education, and what I went through, and when it was good and when it wasn't so good. So what I'm going to do is I will let you guys know that I was not diagnosed until I was 34 years old. So that was, I'm not good at math, I think 8 years ago, because I just turned 42 last week. So I was diagnosed by a pediatric geneticist at 34 years old. Therein lies an issue in New York State, amongst many other states and countries. We do not have diagnostics for FASD for adults. And we do lack in diagnostics for kids as well. In New York State, there is one diagnostic place in Rochester, New York, and that's it. And they do children, and they're amazing. And they do adults when they can. So I was diagnosed, and once I was diagnosed, the geneticist took me on because they thought I was the only adult she'd ever seen, and she wanted me to see me and see what the kids she saw might grow up to look like. As we know, everyone's different. So she pretty much saw me, diagnosed me. And I will be honest, because she did not talk to my birth mother, she could not write the diagnostic code or whatever she would have written, whatever code it was. I don't even know if there is one. She could not write it down on the report that it was fetal alcohol syndrome. But in her narrative, she put she has the symptoms of fetal alcohol syndrome, listed the physical, the emotional, the social. But it was because she didn't talk to my birth mother, who had died in 1999. She couldn't verify that, like as a diagnosis code. So it was odd for me to hear that, but I definitely have it. And once I was given that diagnosis, I went back through all my years, back to when I was born. Not that I remember that, but my parents do, and everything made sense. So I have quirks, nothing, I had some social issues. Education was difficult for me in certain aspects throughout my life. And now that I know that I have brain damage from alcohol that my birth mother drank while she was pregnant, everything makes sense. My struggles, my successes, even some of those make sense now. So in the US, in the US where I went to school, we did kindergarten through 5th grade, then 6th through 8th was middle school, and then 9th through 12th was high school. And I was a good student. I always had A's and B's, and I only struggled in math. But I also remember very vividly, I struggled. Executive functioning is what is mostly affected with those with FASD, and that's the frontal lobe of your brain. And definitely had that issue. Math was hard. Word problems were horrible, and they still are. And then also I had issues with outlines. I remember reading stories out of these textbooks. And then we had to create an outline with the Roman numeral 1. I don't even know if they do this anymore. A's, then the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell you what the main idea was. I hate outlines to this day. But the teachers I had helped me. Like, I could go up and they would help me, sometimes too much, where they would actually, they'd start it for me. Like, okay, Roman numeral 1, and then they do the A, and then I'd have to fill in the rest. That worked for me, though. I was successful because of that. My teachers had no clue that I had a brain disability. I didn't know, my parents didn't know. But they did what they thought would help me, and it did, which was great. So I got through school okay. So I guess, but math was hard, and my class size was, I think, like 25 kids, but they would separate us into small groups for math and for English. And so for those two things, which were hard for me, they would separate us. So smaller groups worked well for me. And the teachers were always there. So I made it through until I started college. I was okay. And I did go to college. I have an undergraduate degree in speech pathology. Now, everything was going great until I was asked to go into the real world and teach. So I was asked to be a speech therapist for a classroom, where every child had their own needs and their own IEPs, and I couldn't do it. I could not separate each lesson plan to help each kid. It was too abstract. There were too many kids. Looking back, there was way too much noise, like background noise and all that. I couldn't do it. And same thing, writing medical claims. However, there's a lot of fraud with the general's insureds. We're a company that we have insureds that work paycheck to paycheck, and we're low cost. So we get those that live in the city, New York City, but they take out a Pennsylvania policy because it's about $500 cheaper. So I get to look at all these reports and all these computer programs we have, and I get to catch them and find out they don't live here, they live there. And I don't stop until they're caught, pretty much. That's a strength that I can use. And I'm very good on the phone too, because I'm very friendly. I can empathize a lot, and I'm very good at empathizing. So it's worked out well. But I will tell you, at least here, without a diagnosis, the education system when I was in the later years was flawed. And if I had a diagnosis, I don't know what would have happened. I probably wouldn't have gotten in, I'll be honest, because that was 20 years ago and 25 years ago. And back then, I think I don't know if I would have had to say like I have a disability. And I think if I did, I wouldn't have gotten in. But it's worked out. So my education for K through 12 was wonderful. It's the after, when things get harder and demands get bigger. Like, so for college, I was on my own. My parents weren't around. That, you had to pay bills, you had to buy your books, you had to figure out how to study on your own. That was a lot of demands that I did good with. However, then you have to go to school and you have to figure out all of that too by yourself, and it's hard. So as the demands get bigger, my weaknesses show through a lot more. But it's, and it's been awesome. So I guess now since the school thing, I work full time for the general from home. I didn't like that at first, but now I do. I'm married for 17 years, which is awesome. He's my external brain. He's come a long way later. I went to see my mom, and my mom had gotten this like pamphlet in the mail from the adoption agency I was adopted from. They get mail every like so often from them, and it was about fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. So my mom told me about this pamphlet, and she's like, I read it, and I really think this is you. He didn't understand. He didn't think I had fetal alcohol syndrome. He thought if I did, what's the point of getting diagnosed as an adult? But I wanted to know for me. My mom and for we were close, but there were things she liked to do that I couldn't handle, and I never knew why. And I got really nasty with her, like shopping and cooking and just too much stress. So that's when I decided to get diagnosed. All those things in that pamphlet made sense to me. At that point, we knew my birth mom was an alcoholic. And then I went and got diagnosed. And my mother has been there with me every step of the way. She went with me to get diagnosed. She now helps me if I go on a trip with my kids. She will send me a list of things to pack so I don't forget anything. She's been incredible. And the reason we never could shop together a lot is because I realized there are very bright lights in stores, and there's a lot of clothes, and there's a lot of color. And when I was younger, I just thought shopping was boring, and like I would get very agitated, but I never knew why. That's why my brain couldn't handle it, and it still can't. And cooking, the same exact thing. If I have to watch somebody cook, and it's very overwhelming for me. If I do it myself, it's not bad. So my book is called Tenacity, and it's on Amazon. It is self-edited, so if you do get it, please be gentle. The editing was not easy on Amazon. I didn't have the funds to really hire an editor, but it's an easy read, and it just talks about adoption, search, reunion, and FASD. And then last year, I decided I was on a podcast with Natalie Vecchione, and she asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, I'm a runner. I've always ran. I'm a runner. I run 5Ks. I said, I want to do a race for FASD. I want to do a race and raise awareness. And I can't take total thing. My mom actually told me, why don't you do a race for FASD? I got to give her kudos for that, but it was a great idea. So I told Natalie this, and she said, we're going to make it happen. We did. Within like 2 months, we got it rolling, not even. My husband decided, you should name the race Run Fast, Run FASD, which is great. It's perfect. So I got Jen Wisdall from FASD United on board. She's incredible. Natalie Vecchione and we all thought of the logo and the name my husband thought of. And the logo, actually, part of it, the cloud, which is on my shirt, but you can't really see it. The cloud is from my younger son, who likes the song Imagine. So they put the cloud in there because he thought of it. And imagine all the possibilities with those with FASD. So anyway, 2020, where are we? 2021 September. The first annual Run Fast virtual 5K took off, and it took off in the United States and Canada. We raised about $6,000 for FASD United. We had about, oh gosh, how many runners? I think, I could be wrong, 244 participants. I used to have it written down, but it wasn't just runners. It was people that rode their bike. It was people that might have walked over a span of 2 weeks. I didn't want it to be just a 5K, because there are those out there that don't run, but they still want to raise awareness. FASD is. I think we need to take it back. And I honestly think we need to break the stigma of those that drink during pregnancy, because I've been speaking to a lot of people that did drink during pregnancy, and I've been documenting their stories, and it's not let me give my child a disability. It's I was 8 to 10 weeks pregnant when I found out I was pregnant, and I'm a social drinker. I was told I could never get pregnant. It was I drank and did drugs because I was raped by my father. If we need to break the stigma. I haven't talked to one yet that drinks to harm their child. So I think that awareness and that education, yes, it needs to be about FASD, but I think we need to dial it back. And I think we need to break the stigma of those that are drinking because they don't have the support, they don't have the help to get the help they need so they can get better themselves.
Thanks for watching. We partnered up with Jody Culp of Red Juice Rocks just because of her background and in-depth understanding of this condition. And we developed an acronym called CARE, C-A-R-E. And the C stands for compassion. And we're producing these authentic stories so that people can gain compassion for this condition. So the A is for awareness. Never before has a documentary of this nature been produced in the 50 years since the discovery of FASD. And it's also to help bring awareness to the dangers of drinking alcohol during pregnancy. The R is for recognition. This condition is just not recognized. And so our aim is to reach 5% of the US and Canadian population. And the E is for education. We'll have some educational segments for ongoing training to really gain a better understanding in so many different areas of our society to better understand this issue. And so to wrap things up, we really encourage you to visit our website, embracedmovement.org. That's embracedmovement.org. And there you can explore more of the mission of the film and discover some resources and hopefully make a contribution to help us in the production of this important film. And with that, until next time, thank you.